For knee pain, we're going to start off again with some gentle skin movement. We just want to, same as with the ankle, look for any areas where the skin maybe isn't traveling well. Ideally we want all the different layers, I say layers in inverted commas, but the skin ligaments, nerves, arteries, different layers of fascia, muscle, all need to be able to glide independently. What we tend to see in areas of pain is that maybe things aren't moving, they're a bit sticky, for want of a better word, and we're just going to self-assess. You can start with the painful area. It's at the front of the knee, the outside, inside, behind the knee, and you're just assessing the tissue. Get a nice purchase of the skin and pull it up. Seems to move well. There's that bit of slack to it, and now moving the other way, moving in different directions, just to familiarize yourself and see if there's anything that really stands out. You might find a certain area that really doesn't want to move, or it's quite tender. So for now, what we're just going to do is focus on any areas that don't want to move, focus on those specifically, but then also get a very general movement of the skin around the knee, and it should be invigorating, nice and pleasant, nothing painful. Inside of the knee, all the way down into just below the kneecap, the outside here. Just a pleasant massage. And then another thing you can do is, if you do find something like a tender point, you could just locate it. So say hypothetically I've got a tender point here. I just want to find that and give that a little bit of a rub to really feel it, really draw my attention to it. And I'm not going to press into it to aggravate it, but I'm just going to monitor it with this hand here, and I'm just going to pull the slack out of the skin over that point. And now what I'm going to do is, at the opposite end, I'm going to pull the slack the other way. So it's almost like I'm finding the tender point and I'm taking the slack as if you had like a bed sheet and you had like a tennis ball under the bed sheet. You're finding the tennis ball and then you're taking the slack out of the bed sheet from both ends. The idea here is that we're just getting a bit of movement into the superficial nerves that end up at the skin, and we're just giving them perhaps a bit of relief, and if not, at least a novel experience to help reduce any tension there. So you're just going to monitor that tender point and take the slack out of it, and there's no best way to do it. You just want to play around with how can you remove the slack from that tissue. Can you grab it here? Can you grab it further down the leg? But you just want to feel that tension as if you're pulling an elastic band from one hand to the other. You're feeling that connection between the two via the skin. So if it's behind the knee, I could find that tender point here with this hand, and I could just bunch up the skin here. Or I could go a bit above into the hamstring. So this hand is pushing down, taking the slack down that way, and then this hand is taking the slack away from the top end. And we're just going to hold this. It could take about a minute, it could take a bit more. So take your time and focus on your breathing. Breathing is going to be very important, and we're just going to sit with this. Sit with that tender point and focus on your breathing, relax. You should be comfortable, and then after a minute or more we're going to go back into that tender point and reassess. Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? Is it a bit different? Ideally it's gotten better. If it's gotten worse, let's maybe spend a bit more time. We might have sensitized it, and we're going to spend a bit more time to calm that down. But ideally, and more than likely, it's going to get better. It might not be fully better, so if it's not fully better, spend a bit more time on it, really get that down. This is a nice exercise to really show you how much control you have over your pain, and how little it takes to influence pain. So through very simple, safe touch and a novel experience for the tissues and the nerves, we can reduce pain. And that can be a very powerful realization. So this doesn't seem like much. It's very different from the usual aggressive foam rolling and trigger point balls and that sort of thing. but it's better and it's more evidence-based. So spend the time with this, tune into it, begin to appreciate the movement of the skin and being able to tune into just that awareness. And it's sort of abstract, it's hard to describe, but as you practice it, as you do it, and as you have success with it by reducing pain and increasing mobility, you're going to begin to appreciate a lot more. So that's the knee. Main areas we're generally going to focus on typically is going to be the front of the knee or on the kneecap. The inside of the knee here, major nerve going there, but also the back of the knee. A lot of stuff going on there, a lot of one particular muscle that can be sometimes problematic, hypertonic, some nerves and arteries, a lot of stuff going on. So spend the time, familiarize yourself with your knee. We also want to address the ankle generally with knee issues, assess all that with the ankle videos, and then also the hip, and you can look at the hip playlist for that.